the first pick.
And we are back with another episode of On the Clock, brought to you by Just Baseball. I am your host, Will Massa. Connor is with me as my co-host, and we have a very special guest, infielder from Georgia Tech, Jarren Advincula. How we doing, man? Thank you for jumping on.
Oh, yeah. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Super stoked to get you on. Let's just jump right into it. For anybody who doesn't know who you are, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your baseball journey. You can start from whenever you want to, maybe a kid, maybe high school, but just tell us your baseball journey and kind of where you're at now.
Yeah. So kind of just growing up, I played all different sports, baseball, soccer, football. And kind of when I got into my high school, my freshman year, I figured out that, baseball was kind of like the sport I really wanted to play. And after getting my first scholarship to Fullerton actually was a really cool feeling for me and my family. And so since then, that's what kind of sparked up the little spark that I wanted to play, for a very long time and hopefully to be a big leaguer one day. But it was kind of just I'm really thankful for my mom and dad for sure for pushing me, and obviously my brother. He's with the Guardians organization, so he's pushed me up through my whole life. So yeah, I'm really grateful for them.
Yeah, and for you being based out of California, you ended up at University of California to begin with. Can you kind of talk about how special that was to you? You mentioned the Fullerton thing, that being your first offer, your first scholarship, but being able to play in the state that you're from, what was that like for you?
It was awesome. I mean, literally it was like 45 minutes away from, my house. So during the fall, I could literally go to get a home cooked meal for my mom and dad. But I'm really appreciative for my 2 years at Cal. It was a great opportunity, and I really thank Mike New for giving me the opportunity for those 2 years, and it was a learning curve for sure for those 2 years. But like I said, it was a learning experience, which I'm really grateful for.
Yeah, and in your 2 years at Cal, you had the special opportunity of playing in two different conferences. Your first year, you were part of the Pac-12. Last year, obviously, Cal made the jump to the ACC. Can you talk about some of the differences that you noticed, whether it was on the field or off the field? I'm sure some of the travel for you guys was brutal at times, having to go to the East Coast. But can you talk about what that jump was like for you, just jumping conferences?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty nice playing the last year of Pac-12 for sure. You're talking about easy travel, Arizona, Oregon, and even Stanford, our rival school. It was a really nice conference to be in for the last year of the Pac-12. But I mean, the difference between the ACC is pretty high, with the competition levels, and then you add in the travel with that. It can get brutal at times for sure. You definitely felt it midway through the season where guys are kind of lagging, but it was a grind for sure, but a really good learning curve to have. And it was a super cool little experience, but I'm glad to be in the East Coast now for sure. So a little bit more sleep.
Yeah. So now you're at Georgia Tech. Can you talk about the process a little bit of deciding where you were going to go when you were making that decision? Was it always Georgia Tech as soon as that was an option? Did you know almost immediately? And can you talk about what that decision process was like for you?
Yeah. When we played at Georgia Tech, it was obviously a really cool experience. I really had no intentions, though, of leaving Cal. And then, when kind of the circumstances and decisions I made, though, after our season, Georgia Tech was definitely in the front of the mind. Obviously, I wanted to check out some SEC schools and some other ACC schools, but I mean, when you talk about hitting development and the team that we have right now, and what a special run we can make this year was pretty eye-opening and pretty easily convincing for me to go there. And when you have Burris and Lackey, Hernandez, and all these guys that are really bought into Georgia Tech, it's pretty special.
Yeah, speaking of that buy-in, can you just talk about the new culture that you're in now at Georgia Tech? Coach Ramsey obviously is fairly new there, and you just have a bunch of the guys like you just listed, guys that are really well known in the industry. But Talk about that culture and what that clubhouse is like, even through fall ball and your experience so far in Georgia Tech colors.
Yeah, I mean, they've welcomed me with open arms. It's been an awesome experience, at least so far, throughout the fall. Like I said, Ramsey has always, like, even when I first talked to him on the phone, you can tell he's the most genuine, hands down one of the best coaches in college baseball, if not the best coach in college baseball, and super knowledgeable. And obviously you have Schulman, who knows literally every little thing about baseball, and he's been really helpful for me. And we just have a great coaching staff that I'm really appreciative of having, because not only will they work for you, throughout practice, but before, after, whenever, they're always just on the go. So I'm really thankful for having them.
Yeah, I've got one more about Georgia Tech before I'll turn it over to Connor, or I guess your summer ball experience. You spent 2 summers in the Cape Cod League with Cotuit. Can you talk about your experience out there? Obviously, it's a top summer league in the entire country. Guys have lots of fun out there, but if you can just talk through your experience of 2 seasons now under your belt in the Cape.
Yeah, I mean, I had 2 different experiences. One with Mike Roberts being one of my favorite coaches personally. So shout out to him. He still contacts me to this day. But Lauren Hibbs was also a really awesome, good coach. And, the 2 different team dynamics, my first summer when I got there, I think we had 8 or 9 Team USA players. And so I was like, all right, this is like the norm of the Cape teams. And I had Davalon, Compton, like you're talking about first, second rounders, Devin Taylor, who was just showed, Max Blue, literally all showed during the preview. We were special. And so, being a freshman in that position was extremely awesome. And then obviously going into my second summer, I was kind of like the guy that was like the veteran there. So, 2 different roles, but 2 different roles really good roles to be in, for sure during the summer. And obviously I was still surrounded by great talent. But, it's been a good 2 summers. Like Cotuit has been awesome to me, and would love to go there again if hopefully just to even visit for a summer would be really cool.
Awesome. Now, Jarren, you touched a little bit about the hitting development of the Georgia Tech program. How important, when you were making your decision to transfer, was making sure that the player development environment aligned with how you saw yourself as a player and your ultimate goals as a player?
Oh yeah, very important. I mean, I did my research obviously throughout these schools, and obviously the schools that I was looking at, had a really rich tradition of baseball. But you look at the recent years of Georgia Tech, I mean, Ramsey said it in my recruiting pitch, like for the past 5 years, they've been the best at development, at least on the hitting side. And I want to give credits actually to MT Matt Taylor, who's actually been, developing our pitching side too, which is really cool to see. But I mean, obviously Ramsey has that credibility, he's been in the position that hopefully one day I'm in the position for as a player. But, when you actually look at the statistics, like it's pretty much a no-brainer.
Absolutely. Now, you also mentioned how, your brother currently in pro ball with the Guardians. How has his experience impacted how you approach your own development as a player?
Yeah, I mean, I train with him every day. I'm learning from him every day. Like he goes through it first. So hopefully I don't make the same mistakes, or if I do make the same things that he's trying to do that I'm trying to do as well. But, he's really been impactful for me, and it's been really cool to see his journey grow, because he went from a Division III into Division I, and then got drafted from Washington State. So that story alone is pretty inspiring. But I mean, honestly, just learning from every day, and I'm literally a call away if we're not in person. So, he has great advice for me, and hopefully I try to give advice for him. But he's the older brother, so I really only listen to him. He doesn't really listen to me.
Yeah, that's the typical dynamic, so that makes sense. Yeah. So how, obviously coming into the Georgia Tech program, you guys have high expectations for this year, getting to Omaha. But what are some of your personal goals for this season? What kind of aspects of your game are you looking to focus on the most?
Yeah, I mean, I could dive into, how I want to raise my slug, or how I want to raise, I want to be better with two strikes, or if I want to be better with, these power numbers, doubles, home runs, whatever it is. But I think for me, I want to keep it as simple as possible, focus on every pitch or focus on one pitch at a time. And I think if I make it simple and throughout these games and take it day by day, like it's, hopefully I can stack those days up and not worry about the numbers too much, because, it's always online and it's hard to ignore that sometimes. But especially this year, like I think it's making it as simple as possible for sure.
Yeah, that's a great point, and something that I ask a lot of players about. Obviously the access to data is so readily available. Yourself, you're a very instinctual player on both sides of the ball. How difficult is it sometimes to kind of block out that noise when you have all of that information at your fingertips at any particular moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to look at the information, but at the end of the day, it's a kid's game. So, and I like to consider myself a quote unquote backyard baseball player. So, I mean, you gotta just play the game like with intuition, that you gotta trust yourself, and always playing hard. So you kind of do those things, and kind of stacks out to your favor.
Absolutely. And I got one more question for you on the player development side before tossing back to Will. But, you did mention, kind of, playing in instinctual and things like that. How do you balance playing fast while also playing under control? Because there's a lot of guys who can do one or the other, but yourself, to be able to blend the two of those, and especially in big moments, you've performed on a number of different stages at the highest levels of college baseball. So how is that just something that's in your nature, or is it something you have to kind of like slow yourself down in those moments?
I think it's honestly just having a good routine, like, pregame, in the game, or throughout the game and post game. Like, you kind of just have to be yourself 24/7. If you try to do too much, you try to do too little, like sometimes it kind of messes up your routine. And so you kind of want to just show up to the field every day the same player you are, because at the end of the day, that's a lot of what big leaguers do, and they don't really get fazed by really anything. So,
Yeah, I love it. So this will be your second year in the ACC. Has there been a road series that you have loved specifically, a place that you really like to go, whether it's the fan environment is just super electric, or the field is super nice, a place that you really like to visit and play at so far?
yeah, I would say actually Louisville. Louisville, honestly, like, didn't expect that much, but when you're there playing, like, the crowd gets into it. When Zion or Lucas Moore, like, when they were up, it was just the whole crowd was going crazy, and I didn't really know what type of crowd they got, and then until literally the first game we were there, I was like, oh shoot, like, this is a pretty cool environment. And obviously it wasn't as big as the Supers, when they were playing Miami, but it's an awesome feeling. And that they have obviously a great team, and so it was a really cool series to play at, for sure.
Yeah, and in this 2026 season, you actually get a really cool opportunity. You get a little bit of a homecoming. You guys will be at Cal later in the season. What's that going to be like for you? I'm sure your family will be out there, and you get to see a bunch of people that you were just playing with. But can you talk about what that opportunity is going to be like for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of friends and family will be coming out, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's another series, that we got to win. So it'll be interesting, but I'm excited for it. And like any other baseball game, show up there and play hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got some questions for you for off the field stuff. Is there something outside of baseball that the fans or people might be surprised to know about you?
Ooh, I'm actually I like going on hikes for sure. That's the little thing that Actually, me and my friend did the other day. Shout out Drew. But I like going on hikes back home, and he had a little trail that he made me go on. I'm in Arizona right now, so we went together in AZ. But I mean, I like the outdoors.
Love it. So you mentioned when you were at Cal, one of the perks was that you got home cooked meals. So now that you're away from home, what's the go-to food spot?
Ooh, I would say probably Upbeat. Upbeat, there's it's like kind of like a more fancier Chipotle around Tech, but it's really good, and I totally recommend it.
Love it. So this is a question I love asking. Build your Mount Rushmore of infielders. It can be guys that you just looked up to as a kid. It can be current players, whatever you want it to be.
For infields, I would at 2B. Love Robinson Cano. Growing up, watching him play and using him on our PSP. Me and my brother, he was always the GOAT in my eyes for a second baseman. I love Lindor at shortstop. You can't get anything better than that. And then growing up, this is my personal favorite, but I love Josh Donaldson. I was an A's fan growing up, and watching him play at third, it's pretty entertaining.
I love it. If there was one MLB pitcher, current or past, that you could face in an at-bat, who would it be?
Definitely Ohtani. I feel like, when you're thinking about probably the best player ever in baseball, and, I'd love to play against him one day, but when you're talking about the pitching side of it too, he can do both. And so I definitely would like to see him hit, and hopefully I could face him one day.
And I have to ask, are you getting a hit in that at-bat?
Oh, of course.
Very strong answer.
I love that. I love the confidence. I got a couple for you before we wrap up. What would you say is the most memorable moment in your amateur career to this point?
I definitely like the sweeping out Oregon State at home. That was a really memorable moment. They're coming in, and obviously they had Bazana, and that team, it was really special. And because we were kind of on a downfall, but when they came in, we were like, screw it, like kind of play loose, and literally PJ, our leadoff batter, sets the tone with the leadoff home run, and that's kind of how the series went. So that was really cool, and we had a walk-off bomb by Seth, so it was an awesome experience and really memorable for sure.
That's awesome. Now, one of the most important questions, the most important decisions that you have heading into the year. Do you have a potential walkout song for this season? Do you have it lined up yet? Are you still taking requests, or?
Actually, I am still kind of taking requests. I'm trying to change it up from last year, but I mean, we'll see. I only have like a month to figure it out, so probably need one soon.
Are you a crowd pleaser guy with the walkout, or are you more like vibe check for yourself?
Ooh, my song last year was kind of vibe check for myself, but since I actually have a crowd this year, probably I kind of want to be a crowd pleaser for sure.
Love that.
I love it. Well, that's all we got, Jarren. I can't thank you enough for jumping on and taking some time to talk to us about Georgia Tech baseball and your journey to this point. We're super stoked to watch you this season, and we'll have close tabs on you all year.
No, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We'll see you.
Thanks, Jarren.